I am 26 years old. My fiancé Liam is 27. We were supposed to be getting married tomorrow. The rehearsal dinner was the last hurdle, a final, formal gathering before the big day. My mother had helped me plan every detail of the wedding, ensuring it was elegant but not stuffy. The dinner was at a beautiful old restaurant with dark wood paneling and soft lighting. Our closest friends and family filled the private room, their happy chatter a warm blanket of sound. I was sitting next to Liam, my hand resting on his thigh, feeling a deep sense of peace. We had made it. Through all the stress of planning, the family squabbles, the budget anxieties, we were here. We were on the edge of the rest of our lives. My mother-in-law, Diana, had been a source of quiet friction from the beginning. She was never openly hostile. It was always small things. A backhanded compliment about my dress choice. A pointed question about my career, implying it was not as important as Liam's. She would praise his ex-girlfriends in front of me, talking about their accomplishments with a warmth she never directed my way. I told myself it was just her way. I told myself she was just protective of her only son. Liam always defended her. He would say she just had a different communication style. He would ask me to be patient with her. For him, I tried. I smiled through her comments. I swallowed my pride. I wanted a peaceful family. The doors to the private dining room opened late. The main courses had just been cleared. My father was preparing to give a toast. Diana swept in, her face alight with a triumphant smile. And she was not alone. A woman I had only seen in old photographs stood beside her. It was Evelyn, Liam's high school sweetheart, the one Diana always called the one who got away. My stomach dropped. I felt the blood drain from my face. The room's cheerful noise died down, one table at a time, until a heavy silence fell over all of us. Everyone knew who Evelyn was. Everyone knew the stories Diana loved to tell. My own mother shot me a look of pure shock. My best friend Sarah, who was my maid of honor, looked like she was ready to commit a felony. Liam froze beside me. He did not pull away, but his body went completely rigid. I could feel the heat of his panic through his suit jacket. Diana beamed, her eyes sweeping over the silent room as if she were presenting a winning lottery ticket. She placed a proprietary hand on Evelyn's arm. Her voice, when she spoke, was clear and loud, cutting through the thick, uncomfortable quiet. She looked directly at me, a cruel little twinkle in her eye. "I am so sorry we are late," Diana announced to the room, though her gaze never left mine. "But I had to pick up a very special guest. I want you all to meet Evelyn." She paused, letting the name hang in the air. Then she delivered the final blow. "This is my son's true soulmate." The silence that followed was no longer just quiet. It was a living thing. It was heavy and suffocating. It pressed down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Every eye in that room was on me. They were watching for my reaction. Would I cry? Would I scream? Would I run? I felt a strange sense of detachment, as if I were floating above my own body, watching this nightmare unfold. I could see the pity on my friends' faces. I could see the confusion on Liam's relatives' faces. I could see the cold, calculating satisfaction on Diana's. I turned my head slowly to look at Liam. His face was pale. His mouth was slightly open, as if he wanted to say something but had forgotten how to form words. He was staring at his mother, his expression a mixture of horror and disbelief. But he did not speak. He did not stand up. He did not take my hand and lead me out of that room. He just sat there, frozen. That was the moment the ice began to form in my veins. The shock was starting to wear off, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. My father, bless his heart, was the first to react. He cleared his throat loudly, a sharp, disapproving sound. "Diana," he said, his voice dangerously low, "I think you have made a terrible mistake." Diana just laughed, a high, tinkling sound that grated on my raw nerves. "Oh, there is no mistake," she said, waving a dismissive hand. "I am just speaking the truth. It is something this family could use more of. She then guided Evelyn toward an empty chair at her table, as if she had done nothing more than bring an extra bottle of wine. Evelyn herself looked deeply uncomfortable. Her eyes darted around the room, landing everywhere but on me or Liam. She looked like a trapped animal, and for a fleeting second, I almost felt sorry for her. But that feeling was quickly extinguished by the fire of my own humiliation. I stood up. My chair scraped against the wooden floor, the sound unnervously loud in the silent room. Liam's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. "Chloe, do not," he whispered, his voice pleading. "Please, just sit down. We will deal with this later." I pulled my wrist from his grasp. I did not look at him. I could not. If I looked at him, I was afraid the dam of my composure would break. "No," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "We will not deal with this later. Your mother has brought a guest. It would be rude not to welcome her." I walked toward Diana's table. Every step felt like I was wading through thick mud. The air was electric with tension. I could feel everyone stare like a physical weight. I stopped directly in front of Diana and Evelyn. I gave them both a bright, brittle smile. "I am here. This is happening. I have to do something. I cannot let her win." "Evelyn," I said, my voice sweet as poison. "It is so lovely to finally meet you in person. I have heard so much about you." Evelyn flushed a deep, painful red. She mumbled something that sounded like, "You too." Diana puffed up with pride. "You see?" she said to the table at large. "Chloe is not upset. She understands." "Oh, I understand completely," I said, my smile never wavering as I looked directly into Diana's eyes. "I understand that you have gone to a great deal of trouble to make a point, and I want you to know your point has been received. Loud and clear." I let that hang in the air for a moment. Then I turned to Liam's father, who was sitting at the head of the table, his face a mask of thunderous rage. "Frank, I do apologize, but I am feeling suddenly unwell. I think I need to go home." Frank stood up immediately. "Of course, Chloe. I will have someone drive you." "That will not be necessary," I said. I turned and walked back toward Liam. He was still sitting there, looking lost and helpless. I did not offer him my hand. I simply looked down at him. "Are you coming?" I asked. My tone was not a question. It was a command. He scrambled to his feet, knocking his water glass over in the process. The sound of it shattering on the floor was the only thing that broke the spell. People started murmuring. My mother rushed to my side, her arm wrapping around me protectively. "Let us go, sweetheart," she whispered. I shook my head. "No, I need to go with Liam." I needed to know. I needed to see what he would do, what he would say when we were alone. I needed to understand the depth of his betrayal, because in that moment, his silence felt like a betrayal as deep as his mother's cruelty. We walked out of the restaurant together, leaving the wreckage of our rehearsal dinner behind us. The happy chatter was gone, replaced by hushed, worried whispers. The celebratory atmosphere had been poisoned. As we stepped out into the cool night air, I felt a single, hot tear escape and trace a path down my cheek. I wiped it away angrily. I would not cry for them. I would not give them the satisfaction. The night was far from over. And I had a feeling our wedding day was going to be very, very different from the one we had planned. The car ride home was silent. It was a tense, suffocating quiet. Nothing like the comfortable silence we used to share. Liam drove, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I stared out the passenger window, watching the city lights blur past. My mind was racing, replaying Diana's words over and over again. His true soulmate. The arrogance, the cruelty, the sheer, unadulterated malice of it. She had not just insulted me. She had tried to invalidate our entire relationship in front of everyone we loved. She wanted to humiliate me, to break me, on the eve of my wedding. And what had my fiancé done? He had sat there. He had let it happen. He had whispered for me to sit down, to not make a scene. He was more concerned with avoiding a confrontation than with defending my honor. The cold knot in my stomach tightened. This was not just about his mother anymore. This was about him. When we finally pulled into the driveway of our small house, the house we had bought together 3 months ago, I did not wait for him to turn off the engine. I unbuckled my seatbelt and got out, slamming the car door behind me. I needed space. I needed to breathe air that was not thick with his weakness. I unlocked the front door and walked inside, dropping my keys and purse on the small entry table. The house was quiet and dark. It felt like a stranger's house. A few hours ago, it had been our home, a place filled with our shared hopes and dreams. Now, it just felt like a collection of furniture. Liam came in behind me, closing the door softly. "Chloe," he started, his voice tentative. I spun around to face him. The dam of my composure finally broke. "Do not," I said, my voice shaking with a fury I had not known I possessed. "Do not you dare say my name like that. Not after what you just let happen." "What was I supposed to do?" he asked, his hands raised in a gesture of helplessness. "Start a fistfight with my own mother at our rehearsal dinner?" "I do not know, Liam," I shouted, the sound echoing in the silent house. "Maybe you could have stood up. Maybe you could have told her she was out of line. Maybe you could have taken my hand and walked out of there with me instead of letting me face her alone. You could have done anything other than just sit there like a coward." "I am not a coward," he said, his voice rising to match mine. I was in shock. I could not believe she would do something like that. "You could not believe it?" I asked, laughing a bitter, humorless laugh. "Really? You were going to stand there and pretend you had no idea she was capable of this? After all the little comments, all the digs, all the times she has tried to undermine me?" This was not a surprise, Liam. This was an escalation. And you have let her get away with it every single time. "That is not fair," he protested. "I talk to her. I tell her to be nice." "Telling her to be nice is not the same as defending me," I shot back. "It is not the same as setting a boundary. It is the bare minimum, and you have failed to do even that. She walks all over you, and you let her. And tonight you let her walk all over me." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of pure frustration. "Okay, you're right. I should have done more. I am sorry. I was just frozen." "Frozen," I repeated, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "Your mother brings your ex-girlfriend to our rehearsal dinner, declares her your soulmate in front of our entire family, and you are frozen. What is going to happen when we have kids, Liam? If she decides she does not like the name we have chosen, are you going to be frozen then too? If she criticizes my parenting, will you just sit there? Frozen?" "That is not going to happen," he said, shaking his head. "How do you know?" I demanded. "You have given me no reason to believe you will ever stand up to her. You have chosen her comfort over my feelings at every turn. Tonight was just the most public, most humiliating example of it." He took a step toward me, his expression softening. "Chloe, I am so sorry. I know I messed up. I will fix it. I promise. I will talk to her tomorrow morning. I will make her apologize." "An apology?" I asked, incredulous. "You think an apology is going to fix this?" "She tried to ruin our wedding, Liam. She tried to destroy the happiest day of my life. There is no apology that can erase what she did, or what you did not do." "Then what do you want me to do?" he asked, his voice filled with desperation. "Tell me." "I will do anything." I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the man I loved, the man I had planned to build a life with. But I also saw the little boy who was terrified of his own mother. And for the first time, I wondered if the man I loved was strong enough to overcome the little boy. I need to know why. I need to understand the whole picture. "First," I said, my voice now calm and cold, "you are going to tell me everything. Why Evelyn? Why now?" What has your mother been saying to you about her? I want the whole truth. No more protecting Diana. No more excuses." He hesitated. I could see the conflict in his eyes. The instinct to defend his mother was so deeply ingrained in him. "Liam," I said, my voice a quiet warning. "The future of our relationship depends on what you say in the next 5 minutes." He finally broke. He sank down onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. "She never got over it," he said, his voice muffled. "She and Evelyn's mother are old friends. She always thought Evelyn and I were perfect for each other. When we broke up, she was devastated. More devastated than I was, I think. We broke up 10 years ago," I said flatly. "We were teenagers." "I know," he said, looking up at me, his eyes pleading for understanding. "It does not make sense. But in her mind, Evelyn is the standard. She compares everyone to her. She has been doing it for years. Whenever I would bring a girlfriend home, she would find some way to bring up Evelyn. How smart she was, how ambitious, how she came from a good family." "And you never told her to stop?" I asked. "I tried," he said weakly. "But she would just get defensive. She would say she was just reminiscing. She would accuse me of being too sensitive. After a while, I learned to ignore it. I thought if I did not react, she would eventually give up." "But she did not give up, did she?" I said. She doubled down. She saw our wedding as her last chance to make her point. Her last chance to prove that she was right all along. My mind was working, connecting the dots. This was not a spontaneous act of cruelty. This was planned. This was a conspiracy. "And Evelyn?" I asked. "What about her? Why would she agree to this? Does she want you back?" He shook his head vehemently. "No, not at all. She is engaged. She lives in a different state. I have not spoken to her in years, I swear." "Then why was she there?" I pressed. "My mom must have manipulated her," he said. "She probably told her it was just a casual dinner to catch up. She probably lied and said I was fine with it. Evelyn would have had no idea what she was walking into." He paused. "My mom can be very persuasive when she wants something." I stared at him, a new, chilling thought taking root in my mind. "Did you know she was going to be there, Liam?" His head snapped up. "What? No, of course not. Chloe, how can you even ask me that?" "Because I do not know what to believe anymore," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "My whole world has been turned upside down in the last 3 hours. The woman I was supposed to call my mother-in-law tried to publicly humiliate me. The man I am supposed to marry tomorrow just stood by and watched. Forgive me if my trust is a little shaken." He stood up and walked over to me, his eyes full of pain. "I did not know. I swear on my life I had no idea. If I had known, I would have stopped it. You have to believe me." I wanted to believe him. I desperately wanted to believe him. But the image of him, frozen in his chair, was burned into my memory. "I do not know if I can," I whispered. The look on his face was one of utter devastation. He reached for me, but I took a step back. "I need to think," I said. "I need some space." "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice cracking. "I am going to the guest room," I said, turning away from him. "I cannot be in the same bed as you right now." I walked up the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. I could hear him calling my name, but I did not stop. I closed the guest room door behind me and locked it. I leaned against the cool wood of the door and finally let the tears come. They were not tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. And in that moment, I knew one thing for sure. There was no way I was walking down that aisle tomorrow until I had figured out exactly what was going on. And there was no way Diana was going to get away with this. I was no longer just a bride. I was a woman on a mission. And my mission was to uncover the truth, no matter how ugly it was. I spent the night in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. Sleep was impossible. My mind was a chaotic storm of anger, hurt, and suspicion. Liam had knocked on the door a few times, his voice muffled and pleading, but I had ignored him. I needed to be alone. I needed to think without his apologies and excuses clouding my judgment. Around 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a text from my maid of honor, Sarah. "Are you okay? I am about to drive over there and burn that house down." Figuratively. Mostly. A small, sad smile touched my lips. Sarah had always been my protector. I typed back, "I am not okay, but I am not broken. I am in the guest room." Her reply was immediate. "Good. Do not let him sweet-talk his way out of this. What he did, or rather, what he did not do, is unforgivable. His mother is a monster." "I know," I texted, "but I feel like there is more to it." It felt planned, calculated. Why would Evelyn even agree to come? "That is what I have been wondering," Sarah wrote. "It is bizarre. Do you want me to do some digging? I am a master of the social media deep dive." The thought of it made me feel a little less helpless. I needed information. I needed leverage. "Yes," I replied. "Please? Her name is Evelyn Reed. I think that is her last name. Check everything. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, anything you can find." "On it," she texted back. "Try to get some rest. We have a big day tomorrow, one way or another." Her last text sent a chill down my spine. One way or another? The wedding. Was it still happening? Could I stand up there next to Liam in front of all our friends and family and pretend that everything was fine? Could I say "I do" to a man who had shown me he would not protect me when it mattered most? The answer was a resounding no. But canceling the wedding, with hundreds of guests, many of whom had flown in from out of town, felt like a monumental, impossible task. It would be admitting defeat. It would be giving Diana exactly what she wanted. No, I was not going to cancel. But I was not going to let it proceed as planned either. A new resolve began to harden inside me. I was not going to be a victim in this story. I was going to take control. I got out of bed and went to my laptop. Liam thought Evelyn was engaged and lived out of state. I needed to verify that. I started with a simple search. Evelyn Reed. The name was common, but I added the name of their hometown and a few profiles popped up. I found her Facebook page first. It was public. The first thing I saw was her profile picture. It was a professional headshot. She was beautiful in a classic girl-next-door kind of way. My heart sank a little. This was the woman Diana saw as the ideal. I scrolled through her photos. There were pictures of her with friends, pictures of her traveling. And then I found it. A photo from 3 months ago. It was an engagement announcement. She was standing next to a handsome, smiling man, holding up her hand to show off a large diamond ring. The caption read, "I cannot wait to marry my best friend." The man's name was Mark. So Liam was right about that part. She was engaged. I kept scrolling. I went back a year. 2 years. I was looking for any connection to Liam, to Diana. I found nothing. Her life seemed completely separate from ours. This made Diana's actions even more baffling. Why drag this woman, this happily engaged woman, into our drama? Then I switched to LinkedIn. Her profile was detailed. She had a good job in marketing at a firm in a city about 5 hours away. Again, Liam's information seemed to be correct, but then I saw something that made me pause. Under the experience section, her most recent job was listed as starting 6 months ago. Before that, she had worked for a different company in the same city. But before that, 2 years ago, she had worked for a small boutique marketing agency in our hometown. The same town where Diana lived. The same town we were getting married in tomorrow. My heart started to beat a little faster. It was probably a coincidence. She had grown up here after all. It made sense that she might have started her career here. But it was a thread. And I was determined to pull on it. I did another search, this time for the name of the boutique agency. It was called Creative Edge Marketing. I clicked on their website. It was sleek and professional. I went to the About Us page, and there, under the list of senior partners, was a name I recognized. Evelyn Reed, Senior, Evelyn's mother. The woman who was old friends with my mother-in-law. My blood ran cold. This was not a coincidence. Diana and Evelyn's mother were not just old friends. They were business associates, or at least moved in the same professional circles. This was a connection. A real, tangible connection that went beyond some high school romance from a decade ago. My phone buzzed again. It was Sarah. Okay, I have something weird. The text read, Evelyn's Instagram is private, but her fiancé, Mark, has a public one. I went through his posts, lots of happy couple pics. But look at the comments on their engagement announcement from 3 months ago. She sent me a screenshot. It was a picture of the happy couple beaming. I scrolled down through the comments. Congratulations. So happy for you both. What a beautiful ring. And then I saw it. A comment from an account with no profile picture and a strange, jumbled username. The comment read, a beautiful ring for a beautiful girl. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Some people just know what is right. So what? I texted back to Sarah. It is a weird, sycophantic comment, but it could be anyone. Look at the username, she replied. D soulmate finder. My breath caught in my throat. D for Diana. And then look at this, Sarah continued, sending another screenshot. This one was from a different post on Mark's account, a picture of him and Evelyn on vacation, posted about a month ago. The same strange account had commented again. So glad to see you two so happy. True love always finds a way. It is important to support the right choices. It's her, I whispered to myself in the dark room. It had to be her. Diana had created a fake account to watch Evelyn's life and leave these bizarre, cryptic comments. This was not just a lingering fondness for her son's ex. This was an obsession. Sarah, you are a genius, I texted. But this just makes it weirder. If she is so happy that Evelyn is engaged to someone else, why would she bring her to my rehearsal dinner and call her Liam's soulmate? It is a complete contradiction. I know, Sarah replied. It does not make sense. Unless the point was not to get Liam and Evelyn back together. Unless the point was just to blow up your wedding, to cause maximum chaos. Maybe she does not want Liam with Evelyn. Maybe she just does not want him with you. Her words hit me like a physical blow. Of course, it was not about promoting Evelyn. It was about destroying me. Evelyn was just a prop, a tool to be used for my public humiliation. Diana did not care if she ruined Evelyn's night or her relationship with her fiancé. She was collateral damage in Diana's war against me. A cold, hard anger settled deep in my bones. This was no longer just about a cruel comment. This was about a calculated, premeditated attack. Diana had been planning this. She had been watching Evelyn, waiting for the perfect opportunity to use her as a weapon. I needed more than just a fake Instagram account. I needed concrete proof of her intentions. I needed something that would leave no doubt in anyone's mind, especially Liam's, about what kind of person his mother truly was. My mind went back to the marketing agency, the one Evelyn's mother was a partner in, the one Evelyn used to work at. A long shot, but it was all I had. I went back to the agency's website. I looked at their client list. It was a mix of local businesses, restaurants, real estate agents, a few local politicians, and then I saw it. Tucked away at the bottom of the list. The Harrison Foundation. Harrison was Diana's maiden name. The Harrison Foundation was a small local charity that her family had started decades ago. Diana was the president of the board. She was in charge of everything. And her family's foundation was a client of the marketing agency where Evelyn's mother was a partner. This was it. This was the connection I had been looking for. This was not just a social relationship. It was a professional one. And where there was a professional relationship, there was a paper trail. Emails, invoices, contracts. I had no idea what I was looking for, but I knew I had to find it. The wedding was in less than 12 hours. The clock was ticking. I had to get access to the foundation's records, and I had a pretty good idea of how to do it. Diana was notoriously disorganized with her digital life. She used the same simple password for everything, a password she had once told Liam in front of me, laughing about how she could never remember anything more complicated. It was the name of her childhood dog, followed by the year she was born. I took a deep breath. This felt like a massive invasion of privacy, but she had invaded my life in the most brutal way imaginable. She had left me no other choice. I was done playing by the rules. I opened a new browser window. I found the login portal for the Harrison Foundation's private server. It was a simple interface asking for a username and password. I typed in her email address. Then, with trembling fingers, I typed in the password. Sparky1958. I hit enter, and I was in. My heart was pounding in my chest. I felt like a spy in a movie. I was looking at the back end of the foundation's entire operation. There were folders for grants, for donations, for board meeting minutes, and there was a folder labeled Financials. I clicked on it. Inside, there was another folder, Client Invoices. I opened it. The most recent invoices were at the top, and there it was, an invoice from Creative Edge Marketing, dated just last week. I clicked on it to open the PDF. It was an invoice for $5,000. The description read, for marketing and PR consulting services, $5,000. That seemed like a lot for a small family foundation, but it was what was at the bottom of the invoice that made my blood turn to ice. It was a memo line. It read, per the instructions of Diana Harrison, a portion of this payment is to be directed as a personal stipend to Ms. Evelyn Reed for services rendered in a private capacity. I read it again and again. I could not believe what I was seeing. Diana was using foundation money, charity money, to pay Evelyn for services rendered in a private capacity. What services? The only service Evelyn had rendered recently was showing up at my rehearsal dinner. Diana had not just manipulated Evelyn, she had paid her. She had bribed her to participate in my humiliation. And she had used money from a charity to do it. This was not just cruel. It was not just manipulative. This was illegal. This was embezzlement. I saved a copy of the invoice to a flash drive. I saved a copy of the emails I found between Diana and the agency, discussing the arrangement. The emails were coded, talking about a special project and a discrete bonus for a key consultant. But with the invoice, the meaning was crystal clear. I had it. I had the proof. The smoking gun. This was the leverage I needed. This was more than enough to expose Diana for who she really was. But it also created a new, terrible problem. If I used this, I would not just be destroying Diana. I would be destroying Liam's entire family. The Harrison Foundation was his grandparents' legacy. A scandal like this would tarnish their name forever. It would bring shame and legal trouble to everyone involved. I sat there in the dark, the glow of the laptop screen illuminating the invoice on the screen. I held a bomb in my hands, and I had to decide if I was willing to detonate it. I thought about Liam, sleeping in our bed down the hall. I thought about the life we were supposed to start tomorrow. And I thought about Diana's smug, triumphant face as she declared another woman my fiancé's soulmate. She had started a war. She had used a weapon of mass destruction on my happiness. She seemed to think I would just roll over and accept the blow. She was wrong. She had underestimated me. She had no idea how far I was willing to go to defend myself. I closed the laptop. I knew what I had to do. The wedding was still on. But there was going to be a small change to the guest list. And a very, very interesting conversation was going to happen before I walked down that aisle. Diana wanted to speak the truth. Fine. Tomorrow we would all speak the truth. And we would see who was left standing when the dust settled. I did not sleep for the rest of the night. I sat in the guest room chair, the flash drive clutched in my hand like a talisman. It felt both heavy and powerful. My mind was surprisingly calm. The rage had cooled into a steely resolve. The path forward was clear, even if it was terrifying. At 6 in the morning, the sun started to filter through the blinds. It was my wedding day. I should have been waking up next to Liam, filled with joyful anticipation. Instead, I was alone, armed with a secret that could shatter his entire world. I heard movement from downstairs, the coffee maker gurgling to life. Liam was awake. I stood up and unlocked the door. I needed to see him. I needed to gauge his state of mind before I made my next move. I walked down the stairs slowly. He was standing in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, staring into a mug of coffee. He looked terrible. His eyes were red and swollen, and he was still wearing the clothes from last night. He looked up as I entered, his face a mixture of hope and fear. "Chloe," he said, his voice hoarse. I was so worried. I did not sleep at all. "Neither did I said, my voice flat. I walked over to the coffee pot and poured myself a mug. I did not look at him. I could not. I needed to maintain my emotional distance. "I am so sorry," he said, taking a step toward me. What my mother did was unforgivable. I have been up all night thinking about it, about what a coward I was. You were right. I should have defended you. I will never forgive myself for just sitting there. His apology sounded sincere. A day ago, it might have been enough, but now it was just words. I had seen behind the curtain. I knew this was not just a single act of cruelty. It was a conspiracy. "I am glad you have had time to reflect," I said, taking a sip of my coffee. It was bitter, but I barely noticed. "I am going to call her," he said, his voice gaining a bit of strength. "I am going to tell her that she is not welcome at the wedding unless she comes to you and apologizes. A real, sincere apology." I almost laughed. A real, sincere apology from Diana? It was a fantasy. And even if she did, it would be meaningless. It would be a strategic retreat, not a genuine admission of guilt. He still did not understand the gravity of the situation. He still thought this was about hurt feelings. "And what about Evelyn?" I asked, turning to face him. "Have you thought about her role in all of this?" He sighed, running a hand over his face. "I cannot believe she would go along with it. It is not like her. My mom must have really twisted her arm. I feel terrible for what she was put through." He was still defending her, still seeing her as a victim, which in a way she was. But she was also a participant. She had taken the money. She had walked into that room. She had stood there while Diana threw her like a grenade into the middle of my life. It was time to plant the first seed of doubt. I had to do this carefully. I could not just drop the bomb on him. I had to lead him to the truth, so that he would be forced to confront it himself. "Are you sure your mom just twisted her arm?" I asked, my tone casual. "Evelyn is a successful professional. She is engaged to be married. It seems strange that she would allow herself to be manipulated so easily just for the sake of an old family friend." Liam frowned. "What do you mean?" "I just mean, maybe there was something else in it for her," I said, shrugging. "People do not usually agree to be part of something so destructive unless they are getting something out of it. An incentive of some kind." He looked confused. "An incentive? Like what?" "I told you she does not want me back. She is happy with her fiancé." "I know," I said. "I am not talking about a romantic incentive. I am talking about a practical one. A financial one, maybe." His eyes widened slightly. "Financial? What are you talking about? My mom would not pay her." He said the words, but they sounded like a question. The idea, as outrageous as it seemed, had now been planted in his mind. "I do not know," I said, turning away and rinsing my mug in the sink. "It is just a thought. It is the only thing that makes sense to me. Your mother wanted to hurt me. She needed a partner in crime, and people's cooperation can often be bought." I left him standing there in the kitchen, the seed of suspicion now firmly planted. I went back upstairs to get ready. Not for a wedding, for a war. I called Sarah. "It is time," I said. "I need you to come over, and I need you to bring your laptop." "I am on my way," she said, her voice grim. "What is the plan?" "The plan is that we are going to fight fire with fire," I said. "Diana wanted to make a public statement, so we are going to make one of our own." While I waited for Sarah, I called my mother. "Mom," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I need you to do something for me. And I need you to trust me. No questions asked." "Of course, sweetheart," she said, her voice thick with worry. "Anything." "I need you to call the wedding planner," I said. "And I need you to have her arrange for a projector and a screen to be set up at the reception venue. Tell her it is for a last-minute surprise slideshow for Liam." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "A slideshow?" she asked, her confusion evident. "Chloe, what is going on?" "I cannot explain right now," I said. "But please just do it. It is important. And one more thing. I need you to make sure that Liam's father, Frank, is seated at the front table right next to the screen." "Okay," she said, though she sounded hesitant. "I will take care of it. Are you sure you are all right?" "I will be," I said. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, honey," she said. "I will see you at the church." I hung up the phone just as Sarah arrived. She walked in carrying her laptop bag, her face set in a determined expression. "Okay," she said. "I am here. What is the first move, General?" I held up the flash drive. "This," I said. "This is the weapon. And we are going to use it to draft the terms of surrender." We sat down at the dining room table. I plugged the flash drive into her laptop and showed her the invoice. I showed her the emails. Her eyes grew wider and wider as she read. "Oh my God," she whispered. "She used charity money. She is a monster. No, that is an insult to monsters. She is a criminal." "Exactly," I said. "And we are going to use this to make sure she can never hurt anyone again." "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Go to the police?" I shook my head. "Not yet. Going to the police would blow up the entire Harrison family. That is the nuclear option. I want to try a targeted strike first. I want to give Liam a chance to handle this. A chance to prove whose side he is really on." "So, what is the plan?" Sarah asked. "The plan has 3 phases," I said, feeling a strange sense of clarity. "Phase 1 is the pre-ceremony confrontation. I am going to get Liam, his mother, and his father in a room together. I am going to give Diana a chance to confess." "She will never confess," Sarah said. "I know," I replied, "but I have to give her the chance. It is a formality. When she lies, I will move to phase 2. The evidence. I will show them the invoice. I will show them the emails. I will lay out the entire conspiracy for Liam and his father to see. No more excuses. No more, 'She did not mean it.' Just the cold, hard, criminal truth." "And phase 3? Sarah asked, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Phase 3 is the ultimatum," I said. "Diana will be removed from the wedding. Immediately. She will be cut off from all family finances. Liam will have to agree to have no contact with her for at least a year. And he will have to go to therapy with me to deal with this, or the marriage is over before it even begins. Those are my terms." Sarah let out a low whistle. "That is brutal. And brilliant. But what if they say no? What if Liam chooses his mom?" I looked her straight in the eye. "Then I walk. I walk away from the wedding, I walk away from Liam, and I walk straight to the district attorney's office with this flash drive. If he chooses his mother after seeing this, then he is not the man I thought he was, and I am better off without him." "And the projector?" she asked. "What is that for?" A grim smile touched my lips. "The projector is my insurance policy. It is for the slideshow, the one my mom is arranging, the one that, if necessary, will not be pictures of me and Liam. It will be a single high-resolution image of this invoice for all 200 of our wedding guests to see during the reception. Sarah's jaw dropped. Chloe, you are a stone-cold killer. I have never been more proud of you in my life. She started this, I said, my voice low. I am going to finish it. We spent the next hour preparing. Sarah helped me draft a simple, clear document outlining my terms. We made multiple copies of the invoice and the emails. We put everything into a neat, professional-looking folder. When we were done, I went upstairs to get dressed. I put on the beautiful, expensive wedding dress that my parents had paid for. I did my own hair and makeup. I looked at myself in the mirror. I did not see a blushing bride. I saw a soldier in armor. Liam knocked on the door. Chloe, it is time to go. The car is here. I will be right out, I said, my voice even. I took one last look in the mirror. I picked up the folder. It was time. The battle was about to begin, and I was ready. The ride to the church was silent, just like the ride home the night before. Liam kept glancing at me, his expression a mix of anxiety and hope. He was probably hoping that the sight of me in my wedding dress would magically fix everything. He had no idea what was coming. When we arrived, the wedding planner, a flustered woman named Maria, met us at the door. Chloe, Liam, hello, everyone is waiting. She ushered us into a small side room off the main sanctuary. Just a few minutes and then we will get started. This was my chance. It was now or never. Maria, I said, my voice calm and firm. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to find Diana and Frank Harrison and bring them to this room. Tell them I need to speak with them urgently before the ceremony. Maria looked confused. Now? We are on a very tight schedule. Now, I said, my tone leaving no room for argument. And please, make sure no one else comes in. We need privacy. She nodded, her professional instincts kicking in. Of course, I will be right back. As soon as she left, Liam turned to me, his brow furrowed. Chloe, what is this? What are you doing? We should be getting ready to walk down the aisle. We are not walking anywhere until we have a conversation, I said, looking him directly in the eye. All of us. A conversation about what? He asked, though I could see the dawning fear in his eyes. He knew. On some level, he knew this was about his mother. About last night, I said, and about the truth. Before he could respond, the door opened and Maria ushered in Diana and Frank. Frank, Liam's father, was a tall, serious man with a kind face. He looked worried. He had been horrified by his wife's behavior last night, and it showed. Diana, on the other hand, was a picture of defiant nonchalance. She was wearing a garish mother of the groom dress in a shade of champagne that was far too close to white, a final, petty act of disrespect. She looked at me, a smug little smile playing on her lips. Chloe, dear, she said, her voice dripping with fake concern. Is everything all right? You look a little pale. Wedding day jitters, I suppose. I did not respond to her. I waited until Maria had closed the door, leaving the four of us alone. Then I turned to her. It is now. The confrontation is here. My heart is pounding, but my voice is steady. I am in control. Diana, I begin, my voice calm. We need to talk about what you did last night. She lets out a little laugh. Oh, this again? I thought Liam was going to handle this. Honestly, Chloe, you are being a bit dramatic. It was a simple misunderstanding. Was it a misunderstanding when you introduced Evelyn as your son's true soulmate? I ask, my eyes locked on hers. I was simply making a toast to all the loves in Liam's life, past and present, she says, waving a dismissive hand. You are taking it far too personally. Frank steps forward. Diana, that is enough, he says, his voice stern. You owe Chloe an apology, a real one. I will not apologize for speaking my mind, Diana says, crossing her arms defiantly. This is a family, and we should be able to be honest with each other. I look at Liam. He is standing there, wringing his hands, looking back and forth between me and his mother. He opens his mouth to say something, probably another weak plea for peace, but I cut him off. Honesty, I say, my voice sharp. Good, I agree. Let us be honest. I take a step toward Diana. Why did you bring Evelyn to our rehearsal dinner? I already told you, she says, her patience clearly wearing thin. She is an old friend of the family. I thought it would be a nice surprise. A surprise for whom exactly? I press. It did not seem like a nice surprise for me. It did not seem like a nice surprise for Liam. And it certainly did not seem like a nice surprise for Evelyn, who looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Evelyn was happy to be there, Diana insists, her voice rising. She was thrilled to see Liam again. There is a connection between them, a bond that you will never understand. I see Liam flinch at her words. This is it. This is the moment to push back. A bond? I say. Or a business transaction. The smug look on Diana's face falters for a fraction of a second. I do not know what you are talking about, she says, her voice suddenly colder. Do you not? I ask. I open the folder I am holding. I take out the first document. It is a copy of the invoice. I hold it up for her to see. Maybe this will refresh your memory. She squints at the paper, and I see a flicker of genuine panic in her eyes. She knows what it is. Frank steps closer. What is that? He asks. It is an invoice, I say, my voice ringing with clarity. From Creative Edge Marketing, the agency where Evelyn's mother is a partner. It is an invoice to the Harrison Foundation for $5,000 for consulting services. Diana's face has gone pale. This is a private foundation matter, she says, trying to snatch the paper from my hand. I pull it away. It became my matter when you used foundation money to interfere in my life, I say. I turn to Frank, handing him the invoice. Look at the memo line at the bottom, Frank. He takes the paper, his brow furrowed in confusion. He reads it. Then he reads it again. The color drains from his face. He looks up at his wife, his expression one of pure, unadulterated fury. Diana, he says, his voice a low, dangerous growl. What is this? A personal stipend to Ms. Evelyn Reed for services rendered in a private capacity. What does this mean? Diana is speechless. She looks from her husband's furious face to my cold, calm one. She is trapped. The lies have run out. It is a misunderstanding, she stammers. A clerical error. A clerical error? I say, my voice dripping with sarcasm. That is the best you can do? I pull out the next set of papers from the folder, the emails. Then maybe you can explain these. Emails between you and the agency, discussing a special project and a discrete bonus for a key consultant. A consultant who just happened to be Evelyn. A project that just happened to be the public humiliation of your son's fiancé. I hand the emails to Frank. He reads them, his jaw tightening with every word. Liam, who has been silent this whole time, steps forward and takes one of the pages from his father's hand. He reads it, his eyes widening in horror. He looks at his mother as if he is seeing her for the first time. Mom, he whispers, his voice cracking. You paid her? You paid her to come to the dinner? Diana looks at her son, her face crumbling. The defiant mask is gone, replaced by a desperate, cornered expression. I did it for you, Liam, she says, her voice pleading. She is not right for you. I was just trying to make you see. I wanted you to be happy. Happy? Liam explodes, his voice a raw shout of pain and betrayal. You think this makes me happy? You lied to me? You manipulated me. You used charity money, Grandpa's legacy, to try and ruin my wedding. You did not do this for me. You did this for you. Frank turns to his wife, his face like stone. You have disgraced this family, he says, his voice shaking with rage. You have disgraced your father's memory. You have committed a crime. Diana begins to sob. Great. Gulping, theatrical sobs. I did not mean for it to go this far, she wails. I just wanted him to see the truth. I see the truth now, Liam says, his voice cold. He turns to me, his eyes full of a pain so deep it shocks me. I am so sorry, Chloe. I am so sorry. I had no idea. I look at him, and for the first time since last night, I feel a flicker of the love I once had for him. He is finally seeing his mother for who she is. He is finally waking up, but it is not enough. I take a deep breath. It is time for phase 3. I accept your apology, Liam, I say, my voice quiet but firm. But apologies are not enough to fix this. The damage is too deep. I hold up the last document from the folder, the list of my terms. This is what is going to happen now, I say, my voice resonating with authority. First, Diana, you are going to leave. Right now. You will not be attending this wedding. You will not be at the reception. You will go home and you will not contact me or Liam again. Diana's head snaps up, her tears magically gone, replaced by a look of outrage. You cannot do that. I am the mother of the groom. You are a criminal who tried to sabotage my wedding, I retort. You are lucky I am not calling the police right now. Frank, I suggest you escort your wife out. Quietly. Frank looks at me, then at his weeping, furious wife, then at the evidence in his hand. He nods, his face grim. She is right, Diana. You need to go. We will talk about this later. At home. He takes her by the arm. She tries to pull away, but his grip is like iron. You will regret this, Chloe, she shrieks as Frank pulls her toward the door. You are tearing this family apart. No, I say, my voice ringing out as the door closes behind them. You did that all on your own. The room is silent for a moment. Liam is staring at the door, his expression dazed. He looks like he has been hit by a truck. He turns to me. She is gone, he says, as if he cannot quite believe it. Yes, I say. She is. And now we need to talk about us. I hand him the list of my terms. He takes it, his hands trembling slightly. He reads it. I watch his face as he processes my demands. No contact with his mother for a year. Therapy. Financial restitution for the money she stole, to be paid back to the foundation from their personal accounts. He looks up at me, his eyes wide. Chloe, this is a lot. Yes, I say. It is. It is the bare minimum for me to even consider a future with you. You need to understand, Liam. The problem is not just your mother. The problem is your inability to stand up to her. The problem is that for our entire relationship, you have prioritized her feelings over mine. That has to stop. Today. Forever. I take a step closer to him. This is your choice. You can choose me, and the hard work it will take to rebuild our trust. Or you can choose her, and the life of enabling her that you have always known. But you cannot have both. The wedding is in 10 minutes. Our guests are waiting. What is it going to be? He looks at the paper in his hand. He looks at my face, at my wedding dress, at the cold resolve in my eyes. He looks like a man standing on the edge of a cliff. There is no choice, he whispers, his voice thick with emotion. He crumples the paper in his fist. It is you. It has always been you. I was just too weak to see it. He takes a step toward me, his eyes pleading. I will do whatever it takes. I will go to therapy. I will cut her off. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Please, please marry me. I look at him, at the broken, desperate man in front of me. This is the man I should have seen last night. This is the man who is finally willing to fight for me. It is a start. But is it enough? I think about the projector. I think about the invoice I could display for the world to see. I have the power to utterly destroy his family, But looking at his shattered face, I realize I do not want to. That was never the point. The point was to get him to see, to get him to choose. Okay, Liam, I say softly. Okay, we will get married, but you need to understand something. This is not the end of the conversation. This is the beginning. You have a long, long way to go to earn back my trust. He nods, a look of profound relief washing over his face. He reaches for me, and this time, I do not pull away. He wraps his arms around me, holding me tight. Thank you, he whispers into my hair. Thank you. I will not let you down again. I promise. I do not say anything. I just stand there, in his arms, in my wedding dress, in a small room in a church with the wreckage of our families scattered around us. The battle is over. I have won. But it does not feel like a victory. It just feels quiet. The music starts to play in the sanctuary. It is time. I pull away from him. We should go, I say. He nods, wiping a tear from his eye. He takes my hand. His hand is warm and steady now. We walk out of the room together, ready to face our future. It is not the future I dreamed of. It is messy and complicated and full of uncertainty. But it is a future that I have chosen. A future that I am in control of. And for now, that is enough. The ceremony was a blur. I remember walking down the aisle on my father's arm, his grip tight and reassuring. I remember seeing my mother's face in the front row, her eyes full of love and relief. I remember seeing Sarah give me a sharp, proud nod. I remember the empty space next to Frank where Diana should have been. Everyone noticed. The whispers were audible. I remember standing next to Liam at the altar. He looked at me with an intensity I had never seen before. It was a look of pure adoration, mixed with a healthy dose of fear. He knew he was on thin ice. He knew he had to prove himself. During the vows, when he promised to love, honor, and protect me, his voice was thick with unshed tears. He meant it. For the first time, I truly believed he meant it. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, the applause felt subdued. Our guests were happy for us, but the tension from the rehearsal dinner and Diana's conspicuous absence hung over the proceedings like a dark cloud. At the reception, the projector and screen were set up as I had requested. It stood in the corner of the room, a silent threat. A reminder of the choice I had made and the choice I could still make. Frank came up to me early in the evening. He looked 10 years older than he had this morning. Chloe, he said, his voice heavy. I want to apologize. For Diana's behavior, for what she did. There are no words. Thank you, Frank, I said. I appreciate that. I took her home. He continued, his eyes not quite meeting mine. We had a long talk. Or rather, I talked, and she listened. For once. She will be making some changes. There will be consequences for what she did with the foundation's money. Legal consequences. That is between you and her, I said, and the authorities. He nodded, looking relieved that I was not pushing for more. And Liam, he said, he made the right choice. You are a strong woman, Chloe. You are good for him. You are what this family needs. He patted my arm, a gesture of both apology and welcome, and then walked away, looking like a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders. Later, I saw Liam having a quiet, intense conversation with his aunt and uncle. I could not hear what they were saying, but I could guess. He was explaining his mother's absence. He was setting the new family narrative. He was doing what I had asked him to do. He was handling it. My mother came and gave me a long hug. I am so proud of you, she whispered. You were so strong. I do not know if I could have done what you did. I did what I had to do, I said, leaning into her embrace. I canceled the slideshow, by the way, she said with a small smile. I told the planner we did not need it after all. I smiled back. Thank you, Mom. The rest of the reception passed in a series of strange, emotionally charged moments. People would come up to congratulate us, their eyes full of questions they were too polite to ask. We smiled, we thanked them, we cut the cake. We did all the things you are supposed to do at a wedding. But underneath it all, there was a current of unspoken drama. We were the couple who had survived a scandal on the day of our wedding. We were a story. Toward the end of the night, when the dancing was winding down, Sarah came and found me. We slipped out onto a balcony overlooking the gardens. "So," she said, leaning against the railing, "you did it. You actually did it." "I did," I said, looking out at the dark garden. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about it for a moment. "Tired," I said honestly, "and powerful. It is a strange combination." "You should feel powerful," she said. "You took on a dragon and won. You saved yourself, and maybe you saved him too." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I just postponed the inevitable." "You do not believe that," she said, looking at me shrewdly. "You saw something in him today. Something that made you go through with it." I sighed. I saw a man who was finally willing to grow up. I saw a man who was horrified by what his mother had done. That is a start, but it is a long road. "Well," she said, raising her champagne glass, "here is to the long road. May it be full of good therapy and a distinct lack of evil mothers-in-law." I clinked my glass against hers. "I will drink to that." When we got back to our hotel room that night, the exhaustion hit me like a ton of bricks. I took off my dress and my shoes and collapsed onto the bed. Liam was quiet, moving around the room, getting undressed. He came and sat on the edge of the bed, not touching me. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "I do not know," I said. "I am a lot of things right now. Okay is not one of them." He nodded, his eyes full of a familiar pain. "I know I said it before, but I am so sorry, Chloe. I will spend my life making it up to you." "Do not make promises you cannot keep, Liam," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Just show me, day by day. Show me that you have changed. Show me that I can trust you." "I will," he said, his voice thick with conviction. "I have already scheduled our first therapy session for the day we get back from our honeymoon. And I have blocked my mother's number and her email and all of her social media accounts." I sat up, surprised. "You did?" "Yes," he said, meeting my gaze. "You were right. I cannot have you both. I choose you. Unconditionally." It was the most decisive thing I had ever heard him say. It was a concrete action. A real step. I looked at my husband. My new husband. He was flawed and he had hurt me deeply. But he was trying. He was willing to do the work. And in that moment, I felt a tiny, fragile seed of hope begin to sprout in the barren landscape of my heart. "Okay," I said softly. "That is a good start." It was not a fairy tale ending. There was no magical moment where all the pain and betrayal disappeared. Our wedding day was not the happiest day of our lives. It was the hardest. But maybe, in a strange way, it was also the most important. It was the day we stopped pretending. It was the day we were forced to confront the truth. It was the day our real marriage began. Not the one in the storybooks, but a real, messy, complicated marriage, built not on fantasy, but on a hard-won, fragile, and deeply intentional choice to fight for each other. The road ahead was long, but for the first time, I felt like we were finally walking it together. And Diana? She had wanted to be the star of the show, the one who controlled the narrative. But in the end, she had only succeeded in writing herself out of the story completely. She had lost her son, her reputation, and her power. And I had found mine.